and are not working with a associate or health coach within the longevity family. This program is a resource for a very large family, and we want to make sure that we maintain the integrity of that family and get people back with the person that shared this program with them. So folks, get back with the person that shared this program with you. If there's nobody to thank, then feel free to use our website, dailywithdoc.com. If you have questions for Dr. Wallach, you can sign up for our newsletter. There is a spot on that sign up that allows you to be able to write in questions, which we then either get you an emailed response back from one of our certified holistic health coaches, or we bring it here on Daily with Doc and read it and get that information out so that other people benefit. There's so many different conditions going on that affect human life. There's somebody else there that could benefit from what you're going through as we are giving these recommendations from Dr. Wallach's research and the things that he was specifically integrative in the formulation of. So sit back, listen fast, and if you don't take notes fast, that's okay, because we've got the replays. And for those of you who are on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have the chats open there also. So we do have somebody that is monitoring those chats. And you also are welcome to join us live if you have questions for Dr. Wallach on dailywithDocZoom.com. So without further ado, I would like to bring up the man of the hour and introduce to you Dr. Joel Wallach. Hello, Dr. Wallach. Welcome to Daily with Doc.
Well, thank you, Becca, and thank you so much for your entire team and the whole team from Longevity and our visitors and from all over the world. This is certainly growing. It's a very, very, what should I say, mind-blowing. But people all over the world are susceptible to all the same problems. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or girl. It doesn't matter if you're tall or short. It doesn't matter if you're white or black or yellow or red. It doesn't matter your age. If you're missing these nutrients, you're going to be in trouble. Okay, and that's just it's that simple. You don't just put dirt from Texas in your car. Okay, you put gasoline in there, you put brake fluid in there, you put coolant for the radiator, and you put so forth. It's one of those things where you have to do the same thing for yourself. And in the old days, we had a lot of help because we were using wood and coal as fuel, and the wood ashes and coal ashes had minerals in it. Plants don't make minerals. Plants make vitamins, amino acids, and fatty acids by taking the carbon dioxide out of the air. You learned that in 4th grade, and making carbon chains out of it, which the cells turn into things that we need. Okay, particularly plant cells make vitamins, amino acids, fatty acids, but plants cannot make minerals. So it's one of the critical things that we really have to pay close attention to. And of course, when you look at the people who do live a long time, they came from bottomland, okay, which were valleys below mountains where every spring when the melt would happen up in the mountains, the ground rocks would come down and refertilize the soil. People plowed back in the soil, and that would happen every year. That was called bottomland. When we went to electricity, the whole thing changed because they put in dams, okay, to generate electricity, and it blocked up this glacial milk, if you will, coming down from the mountains. And so that stopped the source of nutrition to bottomland. So the bottomland went away. Now, this story of bottomland and the land flowing with milk and honey goes back before the Bible days. It was recorded in 21 stories in the Old Testament. And some of the stories were 2 paragraphs long, some were 2 or 3 pages long, and 100 mentions in the Old Testament 3,000 years ago of the land flowing with milk and honey. And when you look at it, Adam lived to be 930, Noah lived to be 950. Let's see here, the Methuselah lived to be 969. There were many, many people who were people of faith who were taking the message all over the world, and they lived to be 800, 700, 600, 500. Why did they live so long? because they came from the land flowing with milk and honey. Okay. Now I wanted to know, as a farm boy, was that milk they were talking about? Was it cow's milk? Was it goat's milk? What kind of milk was it? It turns out it is glacial milk. And when you look at the book Rare Earths in chapter 10, the title of that chapter is Glacial Milk. We have analyses. I think it's about a half a dozen different glacial milks around the world. And some of them have 8 or 10 minerals, and some of them have 25 minerals, some have 45 minerals. But once you get up over 75 minerals, you're starting to get into the place where these are where the people live the longest, okay, where they have 75 minerals in their glacial milk, okay? And this is a message. Plants do not make minerals, and minerals do not occur in a uniform blanket around the crust of the earth. They occur in veins like gold and silver. And so we have to consciously, proactively put them in our food because plants don't make them. They do not occur in a uniform blanket around the crust of the earth. And so we do have to consciously take them. Now, when you look at the Hunzas from the Himalayan mountains, their life expectancy is 120. They don't have any doctors. They don't have any medical doctors. Their life expectancy is 120. Many live to be 130, 140, 150 because they live in lands that have glacial milk coming down constantly from up in the mountains. In America, we have all these wonderful doctors, and I'm sure their hearts are in the right place. They're doing what they're taught in school. And depending on where they live in the United States, our life expectancy ranges from 71 to 75. That's quite a bit short of 120. Okay, so what's going on here? Well, the medical system, as we know it, okay, does a very, very good job of treating symptoms. People want to get rid of the pain. They will give you a pain reliever, reduce inflammation, prescription drugs, and people are very happy. And then within a couple of months or a year or 2 or 3, they're in trouble because they really didn't deal with the basic root cause of the problem, but they got rid of the symptom that people were complaining about. In Hunza, they're getting all these nutrients coming down in the glacial milk, and they don't have electricity. Okay, so they're not damming up the rivers and the streams to make electricity. So all of that glacial milk, okay, is available to them, and that's why they live to be 120. Now that's their predicted life expectancy. Many live to be 130, 140, 150, okay, because they live right near these places that have all these nutrients. Now I figured this out when I was 9 years old. They're going to put me in an institution because I was violent. I was only 9 years old, but I was strong and throwing bales of hay and stuff, so I could hurt, a 200-pound adult man. Okay, so they're going to put me away. And to make a long story short, it's a weekend before I was supposed to go to this institution. It was actually kind of it was a hospital, but it was a prison hospital because I was hurting people. Okay, I'm 9 years old. And so I'm sitting in my bed at night, it's Friday night. My parents are packing my clothes because they're going to take me to this facility on Monday morning. And so I said, there's got to be something going on here because the animals, they don't have problems. What's going on there? So the next morning, Saturday morning, I threw my Wheaties and oatmeal to the chickens, and I took my empty cereal bowl up to the barn where we had all these let's see, they were alfalfa pellets, but they were super, what should I say, they had all these vitamins and minerals added to them, okay? I put them in my cereal bowl, put milk in there, I had it for breakfast. Did the same thing on Sunday morning, did the same thing on Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, 2.5 days later, I was cured of all my problems I've been suffering with for 5 years. I cured myself in 2.5 days after 5 years of suffering and hurting a lot of other people and saved myself from having to go to this facility, okay? And so I wanted to know more about this, and of course, I began to study these things and began to get vitamins and minerals. And people in church and in school, they're recognizing that I've changed, and they're pointing at me and whispering and so forth. And people have started coming up to me, a couple of months later, 6 months later, and say, "Well, I have diabetes. Can you help me? I have arthritis. Can you help me?" Okay, and it's one of those things where I had to look things up in the animal books, and sure enough, there are nutritional formulas that could prevent and reverse arthritis. There are animal formulas that could prevent and reverse diabetes. There are animal formulas that could prevent and reverse high blood pressure. So I began to recommend these things to people, and it worked. Okay, so I knew where I had to go. Okay, and to make a long story short, the book that goes through the transition, the 75-year transition, is the Wallach Revolution. This is the second volume. It's the second volume is more complete than the first volume. Oh, there you go. Thank you. And it covers 75 years, okay, and 600 different diseases. Now, I tell you, this book will save families. It'll save individuals. And then, of course, my book, Epigenetics, which Rebecca had talked about, the book Epigenetics. This is my research that's in the Smithsonian Institute. It's called The Disease of Exotic Animals. It sells for $25,000 each. The sort of summary of it there, epigenetics, okay, is in English only, and which I say, it covers a territory. It only sells for $25, not $25,000, but the original sells for $25,000. It covers all these autopsies in over 460 species of animals plus human beings, 20,000 autopsies over a 10-year period. And so this is kind of stuff that I was doing as a kid, okay? This is me at the Yerkes Primate Center, that picture with one of my monkeys. And I was a pathologist there, and I found the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis. Did all the research, and very quickly, in weeks, found out that it was just a simple nutritional deficiency, not genetic, as everybody thought. And I was going to give this presentation to the National Organization of Pathologists that work for the federal government. And I submitted my paper, and they fired me because they said cystic fibrosis wasn't genetic, it was a simple nutritional deficiency. So they fired me. And to make a long story short, I went back to school, became a naturopathic physician so I could treat people. And all that, of course, is in this 75-year transition here. Okay, now we also have one of my newest books in CD sets. It involves Rebecca and Dr. Milan. It's On Your Head. Okay, it's on your head. Okay, and it covers, let's see here, I think it's 37 different diseases. Okay, 17 of which are from your skull down to your toes, and the rest of them are in your brain and 12 pairs of cranial nerves, because they're all just osteoporosis, the skull squeezing the 12 pairs of cranial nerves and the spinal cord. Now we're coming up with another piece to this book. It's all in your head. Okay, and this will be the soft tissue stuff. Okay, we're putting all that together because we have a great story coming up about that. I can't reveal it yet, but so there'll be another edition of this book. It's on your head, and it'll have another section in it. Okay, and it'll cover I don't know, 10 or 12 various diseases thought to be either genetic or autoimmune in the human population, but it's really just simple nutritional deficiencies. And so we're putting all this together now, working at it, getting all the pieces in line so that's unimpeachable. Nobody will be able to point to it and say, well, you didn't ask that question, you didn't do that, you didn't. We're doing all these things that are necessary to make this an expanded edition, okay, coming up. And so get this one. This is going to be a treasure. This one that Rebecca's holding up is a treasure. Okay, it's an original. Covers 37 different diseases that are caused by osteoporosis, the skull squeezing, the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. And would you show them that skull on the, I think it's page 6, Rebecca? Okay, this is one of my favorite pictures. The top skull has had the top of the skull removed. You're looking down on the brain at autopsy, and you see the skull is a quarter of an inch thick. The bottom skull is an autopsy. The top of the skull has been removed. You're looking down on the brain. You'll notice that the skull is 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick. You can see where it'd be squeezing those tunnels where the nerves are going through and the spinal cord is going through and causing all these diseases, which doctors are saying, oh, it's an autoimmune thing, it's a genetic thing. But really, it was just simple nutritional deficiencies. And we've been able to actually do the research and put together a system by which the bottom skull can be actually healed and repaired. So after, I say 90 days, it'll look like the top skull and relieve of all those 37 different diseases. And so we've been doing this now for what, 2 years, Rebecca? I think, is that about right, 2 years? No, can't hear you. Didn't hear a word you said.
Doc, you don't have to whistle at me, okay? Just saying. But yeah, we've been doing this program now for 3 years, but the book itself was published in 2020. So 3 years also.
Oh, it's 3 years old. Wow. Okay, yeah. And so before the end of this year, we're going to have another edition, which is going to have all this other stuff. So everybody wants to get this one. So you'll have the original. This will blow your mind when you get this original book here. Okay, just think of this. There's 37 different diseases in there that doctors think were genetic and autoimmune, which are really just simple nutritional deficiencies. And, just a dumb farm boy from Missouri, we figured out how to get rid of all this stuff. And now we found out all these other soft tissue things going on, okay, upstairs and in the spinal cord and so forth. And I'm not at liberty to say anymore. I can see Rebecca's giving me that look here. Okay, so I can't say anymore, but it's going to be unimpeachable. It's unimpeachable. And so I'm very excited about it. And it's going to be another section in this book we have right now. So it'll be a 2-section book. One has to do with the skull itself and the bones squeezing the nerves and so forth. And the second piece to it, okay, this addition is going to be dealing with all the soft tissue stuff. And I get breathless when I think about how many people we're going to help, how many people we're going to save, how much we're going to save for their families and finances and money and time. And so this is something, it's unimpeachable. It's unimpeachable, just like gravity. You can't deny gravity, and people will not be able to deny the information in the second edition of this book. Over to you, Rebecca.
Well, I like the fact that you're adding in the soft tissue part, because people think, okay, hard tissue, bones, how is that going to be affecting my soft tissue? And the whole body is connected. You've got something going in soft tissue, then it can affect hard tissue. You got something going on with blood sugar. It can affect hard tissue, soft tissue, and digestion. I mean, those 4 main areas of health, something going wrong on one part of it is going to affect the whole picture. And I think people forget that, Dr. Wallach.
Yeah, well, there's a picture, there's another picture in this book. One of my
Page
favorite.
27.
Yeah, it's this one. You see everything starts up in the skull, and look at where all
22.
those, look where the spinal cord goes to, look where all the nerves go to. And so doctors are treating the symptoms of a nerve being pinched in your finger because you're complaining about numbness and tingling in your finger, and you're giving pill rolling, they call it, whether your thumb and your forefinger are doing this kind of thing. Okay, that's caused up here, and it's all coming down your spinal cord into the nerves going down your arms into your thumb and your forefinger. And then some of it goes down your spinal cord all the way down to your, let's see here, it splits when it gets down to the pelvis. Okay.
Sciatic.
The sciatic nerves. Okay. It splits into sciatic nerves. And, but it's the skull that causes the problem down in your toes. Okay. And so just relieving the pain by putting a cream or something like that on your toes isn't bad, but it's not going to solve the problem long term, because the problem's actually, it's all in your head. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Wallach, for that great introduction. I know that that's kind of part of the whole picture that people don't always hear, what you just shared with us. And that's what we want to do, is we want to make sure that we are presenting, and we can't do it all in one show. We would be here like 48 hours straight if we did the whole thing. But we want to make sure that people realize how everything within the body is connected, and how with those 4 areas of health, that there's nutritional deficiencies in the body as a whole. Each one or multiple are affected by that deficiency.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the power of nutrients and supplementation. So to say that, oh, just eat right, you get everything you need from food, and the food is grown in soil that doesn't have the minerals that's needed to produce the produce that has the nutrients in the food, or what animals are eating that then produces the meat that then provides food for us. If the nutrients aren't there in the beginning, they're not gonna be there unless you are intentional and putting in your daily regime those nutrients.
Well,
And
that's why
that's
I'm going to interrupt here, if I may, I'll give it back to you in a second. But this is why we don't have the need for health insurance in the animal industry, because we have these trace mineral salt blocks that have, like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 different trace minerals in it to deal with the heart and the brain and all this kind of stuff, muscles. And they lick the salt block to get that, but they're also getting those trace minerals. Also, when we give them the alfalfa pellets that I ate when I was 9 years old to heal myself, I didn't quite know what I was doing, but I knew that when animals ate those alfalfa pellets, all the vitamins and minerals in it, they were well. Okay. And so that's why I started eating that stuff. And in 3.5 days, I got rid of all my health problems the doctors couldn't get rid of for 5 years.
it seems unreal, but Dr. Wallach, I have so many clients that message me on day 3, 4, 5, even 2 weeks saying what a difference they
Mhm.
feel. Some people go through a little bit of a detox because your body's not used to it.
And they may be eating a lot of wheat for years, and so their intestines have to heal for a couple of weeks before it can absorb everything.
And then they really start feeling the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're taking a bunch of vitamins, folks, and you don't feel any different and you're continuing to go downhill or requiring more and more pharmaceuticals, then instead of doing the definition of insanity of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, let's give us 90 days. Just give us 90 days on our program and feel the difference. Because, I mean, you go through kind of like a detox where the body's being flooded with nutrition. You're pushing the bad stuff out. You're allowing the body to do what it's designed to do as it's recreating or continually making and manufacturing those cells. And then the next month, you're really absorbing them and letting the body continue to do what it does when the cells are starting to open up, wake up. And then the third month, oh my goodness, Dr. Wallach, you're really feeling the benefits. And for me, those 3 months, I lost 20 pounds and all of the symptoms that I was having of 17 different conditions. It's it's hard sometimes for a health coach when they've gone through such a transition to share with somebody and have them not be open to give it a try. Folks, you're worth investing in. You you go ahead.
And and they will save the money they need to buy the products by getting off the bad foods. Bad foods tend to be expensive. So when they give up the bad foods, they're going to have that extra cash to pay for the supplements. So it's not kind of an add-on thing. It's a replacement of something good to something's dangerous. You're using that same money that you're throwing away badly. Now you're going to invest that money well for your health. Okay, so it's not going to take you a lot of extra money because you're going to give up the expenditures and the bad stuff.
Well, and the nice thing about it, Dr. Wallach, when the body's not starving for nutrition, it's not craving and eating, trying to be satisfied. It's, I never ever dreamed that I would be able to go 18, 20 hours doing intermittent fasting without eating because I would get shaky after 3 hours of not eating. And now that's not an issue at all. So we do have some questions coming in, Dr. Wallach. And folks, if you're here live with us in the Zoom and you would like to ask a question, go to that Zoom menu, look for reactions and raise your hand. And I will be going back and forth between emails and YouTube and those here in the live Zoom and getting questions addressed. So the first question, Dr. Wallach, is coming from, there's so many of them here. Oh, and somebody said, yes, my sciatic nerve hurts very much, or my lower back. Is it all in my head, Dr. Wallach? So let's talk about sciatic nerve in pain, because that's one that I dealt with a lot. And even after a reoccurring an injury a couple of years ago, dealt with and had to bounce back. So I know what your recommendation for me was, and it helped a lot. So tell our audience, what do you recommend for somebody that's dealing with sciatic issues? We're going to go per 100 pounds. And let's say there's no other blood sugar issues and no heart issues, no blood pressure issues.
Okay, so sciatica, this is low back and hip stuff. Okay, it can also radiate down the legs. All right. And again, it's the branches of that spinal cord, the sciatic branches, one going down to each leg. Okay. And so what you need to do is get rid of all the bad foods to maximize absorption. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat and barley, rye and oats, no buckwheat, let's see, no oatmeal. Oats still have gluten in them, can't have it. No sugar, no carbonated drinks, even the diet drinks got to go, and carbonated water. Now, people this morning were saying to me, I can't have water. Well, of course you can have water, but not carbonated water, not bubbly water, because it neutralizes your stomach acid, so you cannot absorb minerals or digest food. The good Lord gave us the ability to make stomach acid so we could absorb minerals and digest food. When you're neutralizing it, you're going against God's recipe. Okay, don't do that. You'll pay a horrible price if you do that. Okay, then say per 100 pounds of body weight, we take one healthy brain and heart pack per month. There's 215 nutrients in the healthy brain and heart pack. Okay, the 90 essential nutrients, the healthy start pack is the core of that. I weigh 142 and I have 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month and take a full dose twice a day. And then I also throw in the MSM. I take 2 bottles a month of MSM. So I take 3 at breakfast, 3 at lunch or dinner time. And they actually will support and promote maintenance repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue. We're talking about the disc between the vertebrae. We're talking about the connective tissue in your hips and your knees and so forth. Okay. All this will heal and regrow given the right raw materials. And then also the collagen peptides. A scoop of that with the morning drink, a scoop of the evening drink. It's collagen from 4 different species of animals. And I do that. Again, I only weigh 142 pounds. And then I like people to get our, let's see here, they can have our synaptives. They can take 3 of those twice a day. It'll be 2 bottles a month. The synaptive actually help your brain cells talk to your spinal cord cells. Your spinal cord cells talk to your iliac nerves and or sciatic nerves, the sciatic nerves. Okay, so that's the synaptive, very important. And topically, you can actually use either our, let's see here, either a CM cream topically on the joints themselves and our Soothe from our Hemp FX division. It comes as a roll-on or a spray. Rebecca likes a roll-on. I use a spray. Okay, and so that way you're kind of going to get instant relief from the topical application of these things, okay, to reduce the pain. But you're going to save an enormous amount of money by giving up the bad foods. And that way it's not going to be as expensive as you think to take all these nutrients because you're saving all the money by not buying the bad foods. And so it's a trade-off, if you will. That's the way I look at it. And so this is something we've been doing this. I've been doing this since I was 9 years old for myself. I've been doing it with Youngevity for like 45, 50 years. Okay. And so it's one of those things where it's unimpeachable. Okay. It's unimpeachable. We have an enormous group around the world. Right now, we're in 80 countries and we're working on a project which might bring us another 38 countries and 70 different units inside those countries. Okay, so we're very excited about that. We're kind of halfway through all the procedures necessary, so be watching for those announcements. And there's no reason, if you're doing this as a business, there's no reason why you can't have businesses in all these new locations as well. Okay, some of them are pretty exotic and you may want to travel there because it'd be nice vacations. Okay, so anyway, with that said, I think we've covered the waterfront there. We've been doing this a long time, and of course it all started with Theo Ratliff and our Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, which was our Healthy Start Pack. We made our first collagen product, which was glucogel. Okay, and added the glucogel to the Healthy Start Pack and it became the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack. And then, of course, we came up with our rebounder sports drink, which has 100 nutrients in it. And we like the box of the, it has 30 of these sticks in there, 75 minerals and 25 vitamins, amino acids in there, no carbonation. Put this, you got to tear the top off or cut the top off and pour it into a bottle of water like this. Okay, shake it up real good and drink it. And so I'm getting these 100 nutrients between my 2 servings of my Healthy Brain and Heart Pack a day, plus my 2 rebounds a day. I'm getting 4 to 5 to 6, 4 to 5 to 6 doses of 100 nutrients a day. And that's why I'm 84 and I can duke it out with anybody. Okay. I'm in good shape and I'm not on any prescription medications. I have hundreds of witnesses. I'm not on any prescription medication. And it's one of those things you can be there too. This is not difficult, but you do have to put oil and gasoline and coolant in your car. You can't just put dirt from Texas in there and expect everything to work.
That's right. And Dr. Wallach, there's many pills that brag on extended release. Well, folks, extended release is easy. You just spread out your supplements and you can get that nutrition flowing through the body all day long, and then let it rest at night while everything is digesting and you're getting rest and all that, because that is so important also when it comes to having optimal health. Now, the next question, Dr. Wallach, is coming from Joe, and Joe wants to know about grain-free, free-range eggs. Do store-bought eggs have gluten in them? So, do eggs have gluten in them, Dr. Wallach?
No.
Do byproducts from animals, for the most part, do they carry over? Does that gluten cross over into like the meat and you just said no to eggs, so
No. See, gluten goes in this end and comes out the other end, but on its way through your digestive tract, it's killing all those villi. Okay, the gluten and phagopyrines in buckwheat. So buckwheat's out, wheat bran around, oats are out. And one of the places that people don't think about it is beer, because beer is made from wheat. And so it's one of those things where all these people, they get liver cancer, they get arthritis, they get heart disease, they get all these things going on. And the doctors blame it on the alcohol because they go out every Friday night with their union buddies and have beer at, their paychecks for a couple hours. No, it was not the alcohol. It was the wheat from the actual fermentation to make the beer alcohol. It was the wheat, okay, in there. That's why the people when you look at Australia, they drink a lot of beer in Australia. Their life expectancy is 82.9. Our life expectancy is 75. Okay, what? 75. They live, what, 7, almost 8 years longer than we do.
but you just said they drink a lot of beer.
Yeah, but it's made from rice. Their beer is made from rice, not from wheat. Duh.
So, well, I don't want to say duh, Dr. Wallach, because unless you've heard the truth, you wouldn't know, because this is not something that's taught by very many people, Dr. Wallach.
They do not teach it in medical school. They do not teach it in medical school.
They don't teach it in medical school. They don't teach it in elementary or junior high or high school. It takes this being an autodidactic of exploring and getting information on your own and seeking out resources like us that share information that is a product of your research over decades. So I think longevity has been around for, I think it's 27 years, but you started doing this
American longevity.
prior.
Yeah.
Yeah. American longevity before, but we wanted to be beyond the American borders and have other countries accept us. So you had to take out that American thing. But now we are around the world, Dr. Wallach, and I love the fact that we are able to be so. So let's go to the next question that is up here. And then somebody shares about their experience of having really bad sciatic. And yes, they are making fake eggs, fake food, fake chicken, folks. We want to be as close to the source as absolutely possible with the least amount of processing as absolutely possible on all of our food.
Mhm.
Because the best cook in the world is the man upstairs. He's the one that created it all. We put it together, and over time, it's gotten messed up. So let's go back to the way it was originally designed as much as we absolutely possibly can.
Again, I want to just stop there. Chapter 10 in the book, Rare Earths, okay, it's glacial milk. And of course, the land flowing with milk and honey, 21 stories in the Old Testament and 100 mentions. There you go, Rare Earths. And I don't say the subtitle because it offends people, so I don't say that. It's Rare Earths. But chapter 10, okay, and it's called Glacial Milk. It's this is what the Bible was talking about, the places where this water comes down from the mountains, the glaciers are grinding up all the rocks up at the top of the mountains, and the water coming down in the streams and creeks looked like milk. And they didn't have 3,000 years ago, they didn't have the ability to analyze that. It looked like milk. And so they just called it milk. Okay. And so they said the people who lived in those places where the land flowing with milk and honey lived a long time compared to the people who lived in the deserts, and they didn't have access to that mountain milk. Okay. But it's actually glacial milk. It's not from cows or goats or camels or llamas. It's ground up rocks. Okay. And we have analyses of about a half a dozen different glacial milks from around the world. And you see there's a huge difference between them because the mountains don't all have the same spectrum of minerals and rocks and things in them. And so the places where people live a long time, like Hunza in the Himalayan mountains, is because they do have one of the widest spreads of minerals up in those mountains. Their life expectancy is 120. They don't have any medical doctors. What do they need medical doctors for? Maybe trauma. An Eagle Scout could help them with trauma. Okay, put a cast on, that kind of stuff. Okay, and so when you look at it, and the Huns lived to be 120 with no doctors. We live to be 75 with, quote, the best doctors on earth, unquote. The life expectancy of an emergency room doctor in America is 58.7. The life expectancy of a professional Olympic athlete in America, following doctors and coaches' instructions, their life expectancy is 57.6. Okay, not very good. That's because they exercise and they sweat. They exercise and they sweat, and they just drink water at the end of the exercise session to rehydrate, and they don't take the nutrients. Well, I'm eating well. I spend a lot of money for good food. And my doctor says if I just eat well, I get everything I need. Well, those doctors should go to jail. You can't get everything you need because plants do not make minerals, and 2/3 of the nutrients you need are minerals.
All right. That's right. 2/3, Dr. Wallach. So thank you for pointing out that ratio, because like you said, if it's not in the soil, it's not going to be in the plants. And are there minerals in meat, Dr. Wallach?
There are some minerals in meat, okay, because you got hemoglobin, so you got a little bit of iron in there, you got some sulfur in there, and some of the connective tissue and that kind of stuff. May have some zinc in there, and so forth. And you do have some, like I said, sulfur in the connective tissue in meat. And so there are minerals in there, but that's not the main part of the meat. Meat is a protein. Okay, meat is protein. And so the reason why in the old days, not always, but in many, many plantations, the slaves outlived the plantation owners. Well, how did the slaves outlive the plantation owners? They were being abused. Well, the plantation owners just ate the meat, and they gave the guts and the liver and lungs and heart and all that kind of stuff to the slaves. And what's in the liver? Oh, all the trace minerals. And so that Remus and Uncle Tom lived to be 90 and 100 and 110. And the plantation owners lived to be 50 and 60. Because they were trying to be like Europeans and just eat meat.
So I did have a question from somebody the other day wanting to know if taking too many minerals can cause kidney stones.
Okay, the answer to that is absolutely no. Okay,
Okay.
when you have kidney stones, you have a mineral deficiency. What? Yeah, you have a mineral deficiency when you have kidney stones. What's happening is your body's going to your bones and trying to retrieve minerals out of your bones to get them to give your body where it needs minerals. And your body's kind of overreacting and pulling too many minerals out of your bones. And that's when you're minerally deficient, you get kidney stones. Okay, it's not because you're eating too many minerals.
All right. Thank you so much for that clarity. That should answer questions for a lot of people.
Mm.
And then I have an email here from Deborah. Deborah writes in and she says, when the MDs tell you your heart is fine after a 9-hour heart attack and you know you have congestive heart failure, what would you recommend, Dr. Wallach, for somebody 160 pounds, 65-year-old diabetic female?
And it's 160 pounds.
160 pounds.
Okay, get rid of all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, barley, rye, no buckwheat, no sugar, no carbonated drinks. Even the diet one's got to go, and carbonated water's got to go. Not water, but carbonated water. Okay, and then they need to have at 160 pounds. She should have 2 healthy brain and heart packs a month, full dosing twice a day. Needs 2 bottles a month of the MSM, so you can take 3 at breakfast, 3 at lunch, 3 at dinner time. The collagen peptides, a scoop of that with the morning drink, scoop of that with the evening drink. And then sweeties, 3 of those twice a day. Don't cold turkey off the medication for diabetes, but as the blood sugar begins to drop, you can slowly reduce the medication based on the numbers. Usually it takes 2 to 6 weeks to be an ex-diabetic if you're a type 2 diabetic, which makes up 98 to 99% of all the diabetics. Okay. Let's see here. What else did she have?
Just 9-hour heart attack, congestive heart failure,
Okay,
and the
heart
doctor
failure. There
saying
you
her
go. Heart
heart is
failure. Yeah.
good, which is good.
Okay. Well, heart failure, she needs one other thing, are de-stress capsules. Yeah, de-stress capsules. And we actually made that for people who had congestive heart failure and heart failure, and which is a simple nutritional deficiency. It's not genetic, it's not an age thing. And so I take 3 of those twice a day just for prevention. So if you have a little bit of problem, it's not a little bit of problem, but if well, my doctor's giving me medication for congestive heart failure and that kind of stuff. Don't cold turkey off your medication, but you take 3 of those de-stress. It's a big bottle, so 1 bottle will last you a month, de-stress. And you go ahead and take your blood pressure and all that kind of stuff, and go in for your regular checkup. And as everything is improving, you can slowly reduce the medication based on the numbers. But how long do you have to stay on all these supplements? Forever. How long do you need oxygen? Forever. Because I've had people when I first started doing this, oh gosh, 50 something years ago, people would say, yeah, I'd call them, I'd say, hey, Ruthie, I haven't heard from you and Frank in 6 months. What's going on? Well, Frank did what you said. He took that mineral and he got better, and then he died because he only took that mineral. He didn't take all 90. So I stopped telling people. They think I'm mean when I don't tell them well, tell me which nutrient is it, because they know they just want to go run to Costco's and buy one nutrient. Okay, I had some guy do that yesterday. He tried to do that to me yesterday. And he said, oh yeah, it's really working for me. Which nutrient in here? I think you were on that call, Rebecca. He wanted to know what nutrients in there that actually did the work. And I told him you have to do the whole thing. So I knew where he was going. He wanted to know which one it was, so he didn't have to spend $60 a month. He wanted to go to Costco's and spend $12 a month and just get that one. But then he's going to die.
Yeah,
Got
it's
to take him.
just not the same.
Got to take them all.
Yeah, I used to do that, Dr. Wallach. I'd hear, oh, this nutrient is good for this, and this nutrient is good for that. And I would take them and I would take them and I would take them and I'd feel no difference whatsoever. But for Dr. Wallach, when I switched over to the longevity products, and you'll notice, folks, that when you look at the ingredients on a longevity product, it's not just single ingredients. They had a lot of forethought into this, where they include cofactors.
Yeah, it's a
for
recipe. It's a
nutrients.
recipe.
It's a very good recipe, Dr. Wallach, and you
Can
put
you
it
make
all
a
together. It
Rebecca,
synergistically
Rebecca,
works together.
yeah, Rebecca, can you make a nice chocolate cake with just chocolate?
I'll eat the chocolate, forget about the cake part, but no.
And so that's why I don't tell people, which one it is. Well, that's why we have the books. If you want to go buy a book and read it and so forth, I'm not contributing to your ignorance and to your early death by telling you which one it is, because I know what you're going to do. You're going to run to Costco or run to one of these grocery stores that sell vitamins, minerals, or go to one of these
Online
pharmacies.
stores,
Which one?
an online store
Oh,
that sells them cheap, buy two, get three free. Folks, you get what you pay for.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that's
don't
where
do
I'm
that. Don't do that, because you will pay a terrible price.
Well, and I have another question, Dr. Wallach. This is a really good question. So out on YouTube, Stork Deliveries wants to know, how are minerals in the fireplace, the ashes, if plants don't? How are minerals in the fireplace ashes if plants don't make minerals? Trees are plants.
Very good question. Well, the trees are getting the minerals out of the soil. Okay, and the minerals are there in the soil from hundreds or thousands or millions of years. But once the trees keep pulling the minerals out of the soil for hundreds of years or 1,000 years, they're gone. And unless you have bottomland that's replenishing every year, or the floods and everything, or glacial milk replenishing every year, once it's gone, it's gone. But the plants do not make minerals. The trees don't make the minerals that are in the wood ashes, but the tree sucks up the minerals. When you put the wood ashes into the gardens, your cucumbers, your tomatoes, your peas, your beans, your potatoes, everything you're growing in that garden that you're putting wood ashes, they're sucking the minerals out of the soil when you put those wood ashes into the soil. They didn't make them, but they're sucking them up because they're in there. You eat it. Now, you notice it tastes different. Those plants will taste different than plants that aren't getting the wood ashes.
Oh, and one big thing that I want to point out, Dr. Wallach, as far as the garden goes, the things that you're planting into the garden, they're using that top 4 to 12, maybe 18 inches when you talk potatoes or some root vegetables. Some of the vegetables go a little deeper than that with their root system. But look at a tree, and this is something that was taught in 2nd grade science. What you see above ground is almost identical underground. So if you've got this big umbrella of foliage above on the tree, that's exactly what the root system looks like. And it's going down feet. Like, I know some trees have a tap root that goes down 50, 60 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just taking the nutrients off that topsoil. The trees are going very deep into the soil, which still, like you've mentioned, minerals are in veins. So whatever's in that first 10, it's going to be different in the next 10, and in the next 10, and in the next 10 of what that tap root and what that root system is pulling up out of the ground. And it's not continually being turned over. You've got that foliage that falls for those that are deciduous, and then breaking down and then adding more nutrients into the soil to help replenish. Where a garden, people yank it out, they throw it out, burn it, put in the compost, but it's not being worked back into the soil like nature does. Nature is just so fantastic, Dr. Wallach. But still, I mean, if you're using just pine in your fireplace, there's certain nutrients that's going to be in that ash. That's why a lot of people mix it up and get some hardwood, some softwood from all different locations.
Different locations. That's the secret. Different locations.
Different locations. That's right. Well, Dr. Wallach, we are up on our time with you. I just want to thank you so much for being here with us and taking the time that you do to help educate. You don't just talk to people, you teach. And I just want to thank you so much for that. And all of the things that I have learned from your teachings have made me who I am today and brought me to where I am, and be healthy enough to keep up with you, Doc. That's the big thing right there. So I am so very, very thankful for that. And I just want to thank all of my co-hosts. If you could come up with me, that would be great, great, great. We want to make sure that, credit is given where credit is due. We are a large community and we're not all in the same place, but we work together because our hearts are together in the same place in wanting to reach people where they're at and make sure that they are armed and have that toolbox that allows them to be the best that they can be physically. And with the way that Dr. Wallach set up this company, there's the opportunity of having the financial as well, which I am so very thankful for. I want to say special thanks for Sherry, who was doing double duty today, putting information into the chat, and AJ was right there with her, helping get information into the chat as well. So, and letting people in. So thank you so much, Sherry. You did a fabulous job. And AJ and Ruth Ellen, as they're tag teaming on making sure that the show is broadcasting properly, making sure that the chat is being watched, and keep that communication going and build that positive energy that we want to continue to create. And then also keep the chat here in the show going, as it is so needed, where we can't share it. We can't let you save it. But folks, if you're here live with us and you encounter or hear somebody that has symptoms of either yourself or someone you know, our co-hosts are amazing because they're putting that information into the chat where you can do a screenshot or take a picture with your camera and be able to save it and share it as well. Now, the products that Dr. Wallach mentioned today, the good foods, bad foods list, they can all be found on dailywithdoc.com. But again, if somebody shared this program with you, make sure that you get back with them. They cared enough. And chances are they are part of our longevity family, where we are associates that have decided that, you know what, I could make a bunch of money working for the man, doing nothing that's productive in helping my community. Well, we want to help our communities around the world. And in that, longevity gives us a thank you check. So support the person that shared this program with you so that they can continue to do what they do in making a positive impact in the lives of others. My name is Becca Dukes. As a hostess of this program and also as the Director of Student Services for the Institute of Holistic Health, where we teach how you can be a certified holistic health coach and make a greater impact and give you that confidence in knowing about the 4 areas of health, how they're affected by nutritional deficiencies, and the solution. That's the important part, folks. We can have all this information and do nothing with it and not even know a solution. But until you have a solution that has worked for thousands and thousands and thousands and millions of people, you don't have confidence in it. Well, I have complete confidence from the experience that I've experienced in my own body, and that I'm able to share with others that I'm on the journey with as they are going through the process as well. You too can have confidence in supporting your own system and also building a business to help yourself, your family, and your community. So get back with the person that shared this program with you. If there is nobody to thank and you would like more information about the coaching program, go to coachwithbecca.com. Until next time, bye for now.